It's on.
All right. Have any of you guys gotten any questions about the new building yet?
Well, I have.
Mr. Sneed, what questions have you had about the new building?
How are we going to fit in there?
Well, luckily, I'm going to talk to you guys about that right now. And I've gotten this question quite a bit because the actual space of the new building is pretty small. I don't know if you guys would agree, but from what it looks pretty small on the space that we're building it. And it will be 8 screens in there. So I know a lot of people have been asking questions like, how are they going to fit 8 screens and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. We will be talking about the advancements in movie theater design and technology, which now allow a more economical approach to the building of theaters than was capable in the past. Some of the things that we're going to talk about are the modern use of stadium seating, which allow for better seating in a smaller area with the use of risers. We're going to talk about the technological advancements in digital projection, which replaced the large machinery of 35 millimeter projectors with much smaller equipment and expanded the viewing options. And we're going to talk about the use of encapsulated projection booths, which you guys may not have heard of yet, but we'll talk a lot about it later on, which eliminate the need for a second story, as you guys saw Mr. Sanchez up there earlier. And it allows for the freedom in auditorium placement. So the advancement of stadium seating we're going to start with. It became popular in theaters in the late 1990s, which obviously this location was built before the 1990s. This is not stadium seating. We'll talk a little bit about that. In 1999, Phil Zaccaretti, VP of Marketing for Regal Cinemas, told Akron Beacon Journal, "You're seeing a total reinvention of the film industry. Stadium seating is the #1 change going on in the movie world." So that was in the 90s, and we're still not there yet with this current location. In that same article, Alan Gould, equity analyst, proclaims stadium seating is almost a given for success anymore. So we're really lucky that we're going to be able to have that upgrade, because that was over 14 years ago. So stadium-style seating allows for a better vantage point for all moviegoers over the traditional slope floor seating. This current theater is a slope floor seat. So we have a little bit of a gradual decline in the seating, but overall it doesn't really give much of a difference between each row. In the new theater, we'll have stadium seating, which has a much more intense rise between every row, so that every single seat in the theater has a better viewpoint of the screen. In the 2001 Daily Variety article, Cinemark founder Leroy Mitchell quoted, "Stadium seating has transformed the movie-going experience. We strive to have the most modern stadium-style theater circuit in the industry because that's what our customers demand." And that was Leroy Mitchell. He is the founder of our company. He still works with Cinemark. He's not the CEO anymore, but he still does do a lot of work with the company. Stadium seating uses vertical space to add comfort without losing seating capacity. So that's really important in our new building with the size of the space that we're allowed to use. We are utilizing the vertical option so that we can have more comfort and have better viewpoints without losing the amount of seats within each auditorium. In 1999, the Akron Beacon Journal article describes stadium seating as a form of tiered seating. The slope of the floor is more extreme than traditional movie houses. The result is an unimpeded view of the screen, even when someone is directly in front of you. In that same article, they say the renovation doesn't alter the number of seats per screen or handicapped accessibility. So now we're going to talk a little bit about classic 35 millimeter projection. This is something you guys may or may not know about, but the current digital projectors that we have in our theaters are not very old. It's a very new technology that we're utilizing, and it allows for a lot of differences in the way that we build our theaters and the size and space that we're allowed to utilize. So most of the motion pictures, for most of the life of motion pictures, movies have been shown on 35 millimeter projectors. The process involves movies shipped in really large, heavy containers. The containers were about this big, about this wide, and you had about 2 or 3 of them per movie. And you had to carry them up the stairs and all the way up to the projection booth. And the movies, when they would arrive at the theaters, were separated into between 5 and 9 reels. that then the reels had to be spliced together manually by a projectionist, so you're utilizing a lot more labor to create a very large, very heavy reel that fed into a projector from a large 3-tiered platter system. So the movies would be about this big around. We'd put it on this big platter. It'd be this big tree thing that had 3 just big plates on it. And you'd put the movie reel like on the top plate, and then you would thread it over to the projector, run it through another huge machine, and it would run through and then feed onto like the second platter. Does that kind of make sense? So I don't know if you guys have actually seen that before, but I know that movie theaters, a lot of the times you'll see the symbol of like the movie reel, but that's where that comes from, that 35 millimeter projection. An article in the Townsville Bulletin in 2008 describes it is up to the projectionist to splice the film together using special clear tape in the correct sequence, and he will then run them onto bigger spools. The film is then ready to feed through the projector, and it is up to the projectionist to sharpen the picture and ensure sound formats are correct. So as you can tell, the human error involved in 35 millimeter projection was a lot greater than the human error that we currently use, or the human error available in the systems that we currently use. The more modern digital projection uses advanced technology to display the image on the screen. This is pretty interesting information because I'm going to tell you a little bit about how digital projection works. According to a 2001 technology review, in 1996, Texas Instruments unveiled a projector that assembles the moving image not from film, but from a stream of bits. The bit stream controls an array of micro mirrors inside the device that manipulate the beams of colored light and turn them into moving pictures. So digital projection debuted in 1999 with the Star Wars Episode 1. This process negates the use of 35 millimeter film and the large platter systems that were needed to run it through the projector. So basically, instead of having this large tree with a bunch of platters and a projector system, now we have one projector that's a much smaller, more compact system. So we have a lot less equipment that we have to actually put in the area in order to project the image on the screen. The technological advances of digital projection allow for higher quality and additional features. You get a clearer picture with 35 millimeter. You get a clearer picture than 35 millimeter with the digital projection. A drive-in owner, Brian Allen, told the Film Journal International in June of 2002, "We always had pretty good 35 millimeter, but there was always that mythology over the past decade that you couldn't really see all the details. With digital, the amazing sharpness now takes away any of that myth of an inferior product." The 3D picture, some benefits of having the digital projection are that now we are capable of offering a 3D picture. We can offer high frame rate, which is a process that puts 48 frames per second through the projector screen as opposed to the maximum amount of 24 frames per second that was capable with 35 millimeter. So as you guys may know, The Hobbit Part 1 came out in high frame rate. So far that's the only movie that we've been able to show in high frame rate, but the quality and crispness of that movie was greater than any movie that's ever been shown on any screen. So that's just one of the benefits of the digital projection. We also are capable of showing alternative content with the digital projectors, such as operas and sporting events on the big screen. So now the really exciting thing, because it has to do with our specific building, is that smaller computer-generated equipment for digital allows boothless projection. So right now, this area, this second story above every screen, we call that the projection booth. With the use of the digital projectors and the smaller equipment, we can now eliminate that entire second story. So we have no need to move from one projector to the next to thread the systems manually now because we don't have the 35 millimeter. Everything is controlled by a computer. In October of 2012, Film Journal International said, "We have explored many architectural options that combine projection into auditoriums. And Ada, Oklahoma is going to be one of the first Cinemark theaters in the country that will have what we call encapsulated booths. So our booths will actually be just a little box type thing in the back of the auditorium that has the projector in it. So we won't actually have the second story.
where the projector sits. It will be inside the auditorium and accessible from inside the auditorium. The theater management system will be the central device server that controls all of the digital projectors, and it'll be in a room downstairs, and it'll automatically start all the digital features through an intricate computer program. We'll also have the use of tablets, which will be used to access this program on the theater management system or any individual projector from any location inside the theater. So that's a huge advancement in technology that we're able to utilize in the theater to make it easier to control those systems without having to disrupt patrons in the auditorium while trying to access that booth. With the booth area eliminated, new considerations are given to auditorium placement within the theater complex. Each projector placed inside of an auditorium allows us to have no need for a straight line of our auditorium. So now architects have the freedom to rotate auditoriums to maximize seating. Right now, since we have to have the booth and it all has to connect, basically the theater design for the past 100 years, if you had multiple auditoriums inside of a theater, was that each theater had to sit right next to one another or across the hall so that you could have all the projectors in a line upstairs. Now, with the projectors actually inside the auditoriums, if we have one auditorium that we need to rotate to allow for maximum seating, we have the ability to do that because we no longer have that restriction of having to put them in the booth. In October of 2012, Film Journal International explains these solutions provide more flexibility in auditorium configuration and hold potential for converting existing spaces to cinema use. So, in conclusion, stadium seating provides for a better experience while maintaining seating capacity. Digital projection utilizes smaller equipment than 35 millimeter and is run by computer. The encapsulated booths eliminate the second floor booth by bringing projectors into the auditoriums. Crisper digital image and larger viewpoints in seating allow for larger screens and picture. So that I wanted to point out, this screen size right here is one of the smallest screens that I've ever seen. With the addition of the stadium seating, we can now utilize this space down here and actually make the screen floor to ceiling so that we don't, because right now the people in the back won't be able to see this area, but now in the new theaters, since we have the risers, we can make the screens bigger and have a better picture. And smaller space houses offer better amenities, such as lower building costs and operating costs. So, do you guys have any questions about any of the new information? Yeah.
How is that going to affect the security of the movies? Somebody hacks into the system and downloads the movies, what can you do to stop them? We
receive the movies on a digital hard drive, but you still have to have a key, which is called a KDM, also ingested into the computer system to be able to run the movie. So that key is emailed to the theater site, whereas the drive is actually mailed to the theater site. So you have to have both of those match up for each specific location. So if somebody does happen to hack into it, which I'm assuming would be pretty difficult, they still won't be able to play the movie without that KDM, and that's only it's unique to our theater site.
And I change them like every week, and it's horrible.
Yeah, and they expire. So if we're only scheduled to play a movie for 3 weeks, then after that 3 weeks is up, our KDM will expire, and we'll know. Even if we still have the content, we're no longer allowed to still play that movie. Any other questions?
Are the new theaters going to be as big as this one or smaller?
The actual auditoriums?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Most of them are going to be a little bit bigger. We'll have 4 auditoriums that are about the size of number 6, which is about 160 seats. And we'll have 4 auditoriums that are a little bit smaller. But this auditorium has like about 114 seats. Actually, this is number 4, 103 seats. So most of them will be a little bit bigger than this one. We have one, I think, that's a little bit smaller. But seating capacity-wise, we'll have overall more seats at the new building. Anything else? Thank you guys very much.